but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Can't you feel the fears I'm feeling today? If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy.
My name is Jean Gallagher, and welcome to show number 15, Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better, where we explore the importance of the outdoors and maintaining life balance. And through this series, we'll be talking with women business owners to understand their journey. And I am more than excited to introduce Lin Schussler-Williams. Hi, Lin.
Hi, Jean. Glad to be here.
So I'm going to read this bio, but it doesn't even cover the awesomeness of Lin. So let me just read the details, and then we're going to get to the information. So Lin is a speaker, coach, author, and women's empowerment advocate. Lin teaches a thinking technology that changes perspectives and increases results. She works with individuals, entrepreneurs, and women at every stage in their life to help them build their belief and confidence, accelerate results, and create a richer, more fulfilled lives. Known as the founder of UPRising, Unstoppable Powerful Women, Lin loves playing the role of connector. She has an undergraduate degree from Centre College and an MBA from the University of Louisville, if I pronounce that right. And she's the author of the well-known personal development book titled 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. So, hi.
Hi.
Oh, so I'm so excited. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, and finally here we are. So give us a little bit of your background and your journey, and we're going to talk about that and your 900 million pieces of business that you do to support so many people. And then we'll touch a little bit on the outside and how that's worked in your health and see where it takes us. So give us a little bit of your background, Lin.
Well, Jean, I have, you don't get to be my age without having quite a background, right? And so I just want to say, I've had an interest all my life in how people get better. And so that's looked differently at different ages and stages, right? But it's always been something that's fascinated me. How do we get better? How do we become our best selves? How do we, build community? How do we get better together? And one time I remember seeing a T-shirt that said, "Together is better. It just is." And I was like I need that. I need to wear that T-shirt every day because I believe that so completely. And so, I had an undergraduate degree in religious studies. I studied world religions. I had a long career in nonprofit in professional theater. Then I had a sales career for corporate and small business. And then I was tired of working for somebody else. And it really, for me, was one of those moments where it felt like somebody had just flipped the switch, and I was kind of willing to show up to work until I wasn't. And I walked away. I didn't tell my husband I was going to do it. Hell, I hadn't told myself I was going to do it, right? It just happened. And I had a side career the whole time I was in corporate sales as a certified conflict resolution trainer and facilitator for churches. And that really was where I learned to be a speaker. It was where I learned to be a coach, learn to help people shift their thinking. You know, I would come in to work with a congregation, and there would be these people who were mad and these people who were mad, and they weren't mad about the same thing. And it was, how do we shift our thinking to get somewhere together? And so that's where I learned community building. And about a decade ago, I walked away from my corporate job. I walked away from that side gig as well, and said, it's time for me to create a business that's about serving from my best self. And I've been working on that ever since.
That's amazing. And, you know, it's I guess some of that story is something we've never really talked about, and I didn't realize. And you and I have a little bit in common, because I walked away from a corporate job without a lot of notice for the other people in my life. Oh, by the way,
right,
I'm not going to work tomorrow. So that was a little bit of a shock for everybody. But if I didn't, burn your boats, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't do it. So
absolutely. And you know what? It's not what I teach my coaching clients to do, nor is it, I'm sure, what you tell people to do.
Not at all.
We have to follow our own paths, and we have to get to that place where we're doing what works best to bring us to our highest and best self, so we can bring that to the world and serve other people. That's what I believe. So it worked out.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
Pretty much what I tell people. Here's what you're not supposed to do.
Right.
And here's why. But I have a lot of respect for what you did.
Thank you. You as well.
So that brings us to where you are today and the many projects that you have. And COVID has, the time of us being locked down has really worked to your benefit, hasn't it?
It has. It changed everything in my business. I had been all about the face-to-face. I had been all about local women's events. And it's really interesting. A friend of mine, Jean, walked up to me at one of the last events. We didn't know it was one of the last events yet. We weren't tuned into there was a global pandemic about to shut us down yet. But she walked up to me and she looked around this room of women, and there was just a palpable buzz in the room, right? You could feel the energy in this room. And she came up, she kind of saddled up next to me with her shoulder, and she said, "You know what you are?" And I said, "No, what?" And she said, "You're a global gatherer of women. Just look at this." And I was like, okay, I'm looking, but we're in this little bitty coffee shop in Louisville, Kentucky. Like, what part of this are you not seeing, right? But within a month, she was right. Like, within a month, COVID had happened. We moved all our events online, and we were instantly global. So it was an amazing shift in that respect. And, not to say for even a second that I'm really glad COVID happened, right? Because I also saw the other side of that, right? I spent 9 days in ICU with COVID positive pneumonia and saw the hard part too. And I'm super blessed to still be here, but there are so many opportunities to see things from a perspective of here's where we are today, being present to where we are today, and finding the opportunity in it, right? Finding the hope in it, finding the new way of being in it that we can be excited and celebrate as well. I think it's important for us all to do that.
I think so as well. And it's changed because without that, we wouldn't have met.
Absolutely.
As well as the other people that are in your groups. And we're going to talk about your groups as well. But also, before we get too far into this, if anybody is catching this live on YouTube, feel free to chat a question, and we'll ask Lynn her expertise. And the phone number is 323-580-5755. We're more than happy to answer questions while we're chatting. So, and you can get it live too on discoverrisingtides.com. So, anywho, the global outlook, and how are you touching so many people?
You know, I think people are hungry for human connection. Mm-hmm. I think people are, I think women have always gathered, right? Naturally. It's part of every culture on earth that the women in the culture gather, and it always has been for tens of thousands of years, right? It's what we do, and we get value from each other, and we get value from doing that. And so I think it's just about making a container that allows women to connect, right? Mm-hmm. In our uprising events, our group is called Uprising Unstoppable Powerful Women. And in that group, we have events that are free and that are open to all women. And, you know, we have a core value of build an inclusive and diverse community. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you just try to stop and embody that and create things that serve people, right? We're not creating these events to sell them something. We're not creating these events to kind of, I don't know, take advantage of anything. These events are created to build the opportunity and the environment for women to come together, to build our belief and our confidence together, to see ourselves embodying our greatness and our power. That's our mission. That's literally our mission. So when you come at something with a heart of service and with an openness, it just naturally is going to attract the people to whom you're meant to serve, right? And no attachment to who those are. Like, I never did that saying, oh, we've got to have 100,000 members or something, right? We have 550. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, right? It's whoever's supposed to be there is there, and it's a powerful, wonderful place. And do we hope more people come? Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yeah. But I think that it's the genuineness that happens. It's great. You know, you can have a mission statement. You can have all these great fluffy words in the mission statement, but how you actually live within that mission statement and show within that mission statement is incredibly important, I think, as well. And, you know, prior to being locked down, or prior to when we were all doing in-person networking, you know, it's always, not always, most times, quite often, it's, I'm here, here's my 30-second elevator speech. Yeah. And I never want to hear elevator speech again. But, you know, I'm going to sell myself to you, and I don't care that you're not listening to me. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. I'm not going to ask anything about you. And it's not a genuine, how do I lift you up? It is, here's what I have. What are you going to buy from me today?
Right. Absolutely, 100%. You know, back when COVID first started, Jean, I started helping people with Zoom just because I had had a Zoom account for, I don't know how long, 6 or 7 or 8 years. And I saw these people struggling, and certainly I saw networking struggling. And so I started teaching people about Zoom. Then I taught a little course called Become a Virtual Networking Superstar that it taught people to be in networking exactly the opposite of what you just said, right? Mm-hmm. And to show up with a heart of service. Like a good friend of mine always says, success begins with showing up. And I always say selling equals serving. So when you put the two together and you show up with a heart of service, it's a completely different experience. Mm-hmm. in the uprising events, we try to make sure that they are never, even if they're a straight networking event, they're never an event that people come to and feel like they've come to be sold to. Mm-hmm. We always give people opportunities to talk about things that aren't their business, to get to know each other, to build relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And you and I met in a networking group that's like that too. That's so powerful. I think that's why we connected, because you just, people, as I said a minute ago, people are hungry for human connection, and nobody likes to be sold to. So as a sales coach, I'm really, really sensitive to the fact that people hate the word sales. They hate the idea of selling. Like, that's why I have a business, honestly. Because I became a certified coach, and I looked around, and all my fellow coaches in my class were people who'd never sold anything, and they didn't know how. And some of them were people like ministers and social workers and teachers who literally had been trained that you can't charge money for helping people. That would be unethical, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I ended up being a sales coach, was like, well, no, we're starting a business here. Let me help you shift that mindset. And so it is, it's important for us as business women to embrace the fact that without sales, we aren't business women, right? That's mm-hmm. so important for us, and that we can accomplish that from a place of authenticity, from a heart of service, from a place of, I'm not here to just sell everybody I meet, but I am here to build a successful business, right?
And the first thing that comes out of your mouth isn't, buy this from me.
No. That's definitely true.
It's relationship building, right?
Yes.
Everything is relationship building, and it is more to, what I get out of our networking group is that my responsibility is to learn about others, because I'm going to interact with people that are going to need their services. And if I don't learn about their services, whether I'm taking advantage of them or not, I'm not going to be able to do my job authentically, showing up to say, I want to support you.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, that's 100% true. And I think, that's, I think that when we show up, the other thing is we have to get good at the techniques that allow us to do the things authentically today, right? Mm-hmm. Now, some places are open back up and they're having in-person meetings, and people, every now and then people say to me, 3 years ago, we were meeting in person in these uprising events. Aren't you going to do that again? And I'm like, no, because how would I say to my friend Jean, who lives in California, that, you mm-hmm. can't come to the meetings anymore because they're going to be local in Louisville, Kentucky? Like, no. But so we have to adjust, and we have to embrace the things that bring us to the place of being able to have that authentic human connection in our business processes, in our sales processes. And the other thing that's come up for me is that I believe strongly that one of the ways we do that, of course, all the online communication platforms like Zoom and, mm-hmm. StreamYard and things like that are great, but video is key for us. I saw an article last month. I saw it last month. It probably came out a month or two before that Cisco, one of the largest tech companies in the world, said by 2022, which we're there now, more than 82% of all communications on the internet, consumer consumption of communications, would be video.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a strong belief that one of the things that allows that authentic communication for us, that way for people to get to know us so they know, like, and trust us even when we can't be right in front of them, is the use of video. And so I think that's been a big transformation for me, too, through this whole COVID thing in my business.
Because I want to touch on the video part, too, but how you use it. But I think that that's also really true because, we can read an email or we can read a text. And when you read a text, you're inferring what might have, what's not printed, right? And you could be inferring incorrectly or taking the information not as it was intended, not necessarily negatively, but you're losing that personal interaction. And so if we're not in front of each other, but we can see each other, that makes a difference.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference. And I think it's so powerful for women in business to, I had a client who said to me, she started using video to communicate instead of written emails. And she was doing it in her nurture of prospects, right? When she'd send out emails to nurture people who weren't her clients yet. And she had people show up on a webinar who had been in this email nurture sequence and got videos of her, and they were like fans. They were like, we know your kids and we know your dogs and we know you and we know who you are. And like it's this incredible way of connecting with people that allows your authentic self to shine through. I think it's so great.
Yeah, it is. And so let's break down all that you do, if we can. I don't know. We don't have 4 hours, but let's break it down a little bit and talk about how it's evolved. So we start with your networking groups, and there's different versions of those depending upon, or different themes of those.
Yeah, so they aren't all networking, although networking happens at all of them for sure. Some of them are more kind of personal development or women's empowerment themed, right? So UPRising events hosts, depending on how the calendar falls, 7 to 10 free women's networking and empowerment events each and every month. We also, I produce through that group the Be More Conference, which is a conference for women. It's been once a year up until 2022, and we're hoping that it'll be twice this year. Coming up in March is our first one during International Women's Month. And the Be More Conference is a one-day online virtual conference priced so that it's super accessible for pretty much everybody. And it's there for women who want to be more. And our theme this year is living in alignment, your genius is calling. So lots of topics and speakers in little short bites, so 20-minute bites, so that we can really get a lot in there. And people can get the recordings. It's a free bonus that they get the recordings, and so they can listen to those 20-minute bites over and over in their car or whatever. So
don't go any further. Let's start, since we're talking Be More, let's just, when is dates? And we'll get to this part in the end too, but while we're talking about it, when is the conference?
It's March 19th. And it is, 11:30 Eastern to 6:30 Eastern. So 8:30 Pacific to 3:30 Pacific. And you can see the information about it and grab a $27 ticket at bemoreconference.com.
Great. So sign up. I'm really excited for it as well. The last one was my first as a attendee. So I'm looking forward to this one as a speaker. So I can't wait.
Yes, I can't wait for you to have that too. So I can't wait for everybody to hear what you have to say. So that's the UPRising. That's one container that I work in. I'm a sales coach, so I have one-on-one sales coaching clients that are almost exclusively solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, that sort of thing. I also practice my sales coaching as a co-coach in a program called Story Selling Mastermind with my partner, Paige Batcher. And the Kismet Story Selling Mastermind, as a matter of fact, I skidded in here at home plate at the last second because we just finished a 2-hour webinar.
You warned me about that, so I didn't totally get it.
With a software platform that we use. So that was a lot of fun. And so that's a beautiful way that we help people who have businesses that are based on relationship building use video to grow their sales. And so it's a wonderful process.
Let's talk a little bit about that and break that down. We've had plenty of time, so break that down a little bit because it's really important. I was so impressed when I attended one of the information sessions. And so how did that come about, and what are you hearing from people?
Yeah, so I have a great story about how this came about. Do you ever have one of those events on your calendar, like a networking event, that you're thinking, I don't really want to go to that? Well, that was me in August of 2020, I think. And I thought, I know better. If I'm thinking I don't really want to go, I should go because there'll be somebody special there to meet. So I went, and there was this radiant woman named Paige Basher as the speaker, and she was just explaining. She's a software guru, right? She also has a master's degree in communication and planning and all kinds of stuff. She's brilliant. And she said, she owns a company for web development, but she said, if you're a solopreneur and you just need to get sales, here's this simple system, and it includes video, and just do this. And I thought, whatever she knows, I want to know, right? And so I signed up. She was offering this little course that really, it was a passion project for her. This was not a big business deal, right? And so I signed up and did her course and learned it. And I went to her and I said, I'm going to teach this. Is that okay? And she was like, yes. I was like, all my sales coaching clients need this. And so I started teaching it right away. And she came to me about, 6 months later, 5 months later, and said, hey, what's going on? Tell me what you've been doing. And I told her, and she said, that's what I want to do too. Let's do it together. So I started co-coaching with her in her program called Story Selling. And we now help business owners who need to build relationship to sell more. And we don't teach buy ads. We don't teach, all that stuff. It's all done organically, and it is about grow your sales with many video funnels. And so if people are looking to grow an online sales funnel to have more people on their email list, to whatever it is, and get more sales quickly, this is a great way to do it. And it's a lot of fun. We have a blast.
And I think for a lot of people, the thought of doing videos is frightening.
Yeah.
It's a showstopper. Forget it. I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? I don't even care how much it works.
That was me. Okay, so that's so totally me, right? So if you
you're the queen of it now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So just today in my dashboard where we, in the piece of software we use, which is called Dub, in my Dub software today, it rolled over 1,300 videos. Those 1,300 videos have been seen 11,000 times.
Wow.
And over 4,200 clicks on the call to action buttons under those videos.
That's
on
amazing.
The link.
Because, you're not just sending a video. In your videos, there are what you say call to actions. So there's different buttons to click on that are going to either produce a contact or set up a meeting or connect to another meeting. Amazing.
So each of those videos has an instant landing page built with it. It instantly, once I upload the video, it instantly builds a website landing page. And y'all are going to see that when I give you my link here to go to my website and take a look at it. It's one of those landing pages. So you'll get to see an object lesson in it for sure.
And so this coaching program, is it ongoing? Do people need to sign up for a certain class, or how does this work?
Yeah, so the Kismet Story Selling Mastermind is ongoing. We just did a webinar today live with the folks from Dub, who are the creators of the platform that we use to teach growing the video funnels. And we have, I can give you the link to that, but there's a time stamp on it. So folks can get that link and go and take a look at that. And then we always have webinars coming up, and we always have enrollment. So if you just go to my link instead and then come through there, that's probably the easier way to do it. Yeah, I think that's probably better. So Indie, INDIE, salescoach.com is probably the easiest way, and you'll see a button there for story selling.
That's fantastic. And so where do you see this going?
So it's amazing to me. We have had folks from all kinds of industries who say, you know, my emails aren't getting read, my LinkedIn messages aren't getting read, my whatever, and how do I build a better way to communicate and a better way to build relationships and a better way to get sales? And it's across the board, Jean. It's amazing. Solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, realtors, mortgage people. You know, if it's a business built on relationship building, then this is phenomenal for it. And so, you know, it's insurance agents, financial people of all kinds. It just goes on and on, the folks that we've seen come through. We even have e-commerce people sometimes, like, so it's amazing. And I think where do I see it going? I don't see an end to it, right? Video is here to stay as a need. But the beauty of what we do in story selling, the beauty of how Paige and I work is that we really get into what's for that person. It's a group program, so it's not individual, but we have a community and people get feedback and, you know, all of that sort of thing. So you're not in it alone. And, you know, we're going to adapt. If the thing changes so that this isn't the thing, then we're going to adapt and we'll be addressing what is the thing, right? So we see a lot of growth. We're really excited about where this is going.
That's fantastic. That's amazing. And so we covered your UPRising group and the Be More conference and the storytelling. And then next?
Well, you know, I have one-on-one coaching clients. They're completely custom. There's no kind of container to put that in. I don't do it's like if they're a solopreneur, a coach, a consultant, and they really need to figure out what to offer, how to offer it, how to talk about it, all those sorts of things. That's where my one-on-one coaching comes in. And of course, I love to talk about my book, which is 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. That's a personal development book. It's not a sales book, but I use it with all my sales clients because, you know, most of the things that stand in our way in sales are between our ears. And so yeah, that's right. How we think about what we're doing in business, how we think about how we show up to the world as women, how we think about, you know, where are the places in our lives and in our businesses where we wish we had different results. That's what 9 Little Words to Change Your Results is about. So it's a simple system, and I love to teach it. I love to show up and just, you know, work to change how people think they can succeed.
And it's available on Amazon?
It is. It is. Yeah.
So you have a lot going on. How do you manage yourself? Because every time I see you, you look like, oh, you know what? I just came from the beach and I'm super relaxed and I've got it all together.
I love that you think that.
But that's what it looks like. So how do you keep it all together? Because these things that we're talking about, these aren't projects that one started and finished and another started and finished. And these are all going on all the time. Yes. Because whenever I'm in a network group, it is who has events and how many do you have, Lynn? Because you have 900 million.
Right. Right. Well, I will tell you that I don't think the way I show up to my business is for everyone. First of all, I don't think, you know, people say to me all the time, Jean, I can't keep up with you. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't believe I asked you to, right? So that's okay with me. But I do think that an old friend of mine said, whatever our clear intentions are, they outpicture in our behavior.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Whatever our clear intentions are, whatever we truly intend, right? And whatever intentions we're committed to, they outpicture in our behavior. Like if you really want to know what somebody thinks, just watch what they do, right? Kind of thing, right? So I'm really committed to having clear intentions about growing my business, about serving other people, about showing up in the world as a force for good, all of those things. And so I hope that outpictures in my behavior, right? It influences my choices, right? And when I also teach this in my book, the power of decision. I've learned this from personal development giants for decades, but when we decide for something, we cut away all the other possibilities, right? The word decide, C-I-D-E, right, is the same ending in Latin as germicide and insecticide and all those things. It literally means to kill or cut away. So when we have a clear, focused intention to go for something, we've cut away the noise. When I started my business, I deleted every game off my phone. I quit watching TV after dinner. It wasn't because I said I had to. It was because I had a clear intention and I wanted to go for that thing, which was creating a business. And so I do those things today, believe it or not. I have a game I really like on my phone for downtime sometimes. And, occasionally I watch, some stupid TV show after dinner, right? I do those things now, but I am at that point where I feel like I choose what's important for my life. I choose where my energy will go. And another old friend of mine said to me, that universal principle about what we focus on grows in our experience. So I intend to focus on those things that are growing the experiences I want to have. And that's the one thing. The other thing I want to say that comes around to the outside, right, is that, I'm not like everybody, right? I spent my honeymoon in a tent in a valley in Kentucky, right? We called it Honeymoon Holler. And so not everybody wants to do that, but all of us, especially in this time of increased isolation, especially in this time of, uncertainty and all of that, we all need to learn to manage our stress, manage our anxiety, manage all that, and grounding. I have this one friend, and she'll say, be right back, and she'll just walk out of a Zoom. Well, what she just walked out to do is just go outside and stand in the yard. Right? She'll come back 5 minutes later and be like, okay, I'm ready to talk now. We need to really embrace things like that. And that's what I do. I make my choices in my day and how I structure my day so that when I show up, I can show up 100% present and energized and all of that.
Yeah, and you do. So I'm always impressed. Yeah, and the thing is, it's genuine. So you can show up and you can be there, but you're not necessarily present because you're being there because you have to be there, and that's going to show through, right? And that's going to be obvious to other people that you're really doing this not for the reasons that you might have intended. Right.
Well, and also, it's, people, sometimes they show up because they think they should, right? Somebody has told somebody, if you want to grow your sales, go show up at networking events, right? And that's why they're there. That shows too, right? That's, we've all met people at networking events, if we've ever been to one, who shove their business card in your face or whatever, right? They're clearly there. Their intention, it's like I said, whatever the intention is, just watch the behavior and it'll come through, right? So if you show up with a heart of service, no matter what you're doing, you're going to come across as more authentically you and less about being salesy or whatever. And this coming from a sales coach, right? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there are good ways to do it. And I think managing our energy is a big part of living well. I just believe that.
And so managing the energy part, let's talk about that a little bit, because you had mentioned too, through the positiveness of COVID has created this where we're at now and being able to work virtually, but also the negatives of COVID you experienced yourself.
Yeah, I did. I totally did. You know, it was frightening. I would be dishonest to say it wasn't, that there were moments when I was like, okay, is this it? And big and there. It was one of the greatest lessons I've ever had. You know, here I was, 60 years old, not skinny, right? Not in perfect health. And I came down with COVID positive pneumonia in both lungs. And it was this realization that the last 40 years of personal development had brought me to the moment when I could walk into a hospital really, really sick and have this doctor walk into my ER room and say, I just have to tell you how serious this is. And we need to talk about this and that, all these serious choices, right? And I said, without a thought, without a hesitation, I immediately said to him, look, I'm going to be your most compliant patient. If you tell me to do something to get well, I'm going to do it. But I need you to agree with me about something. And he said, really, what? And I said, I need you to understand I'm going to be your miracle patient. And there's no way that I'm going to be here as long as you said. And there's no way I'm going to go through any of this stuff you just told me were the dire consequences that were possible. And he went, okay. And I knew from that moment, right, that everything was going to get better, and it got easier and easier and easier. And I was there in ICU by myself. My family couldn't come see me, right? It was at the height of early, I mean, not early, but it was a year ago this month. And so,
oh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah, it was a year ago this month, and I wasn't there nearly as long. And in my follow-ups with doctors, they just look at me and they say, wow, we don't see people who looked like you did when you went in the hospital who look like you do now. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, it's like the people who can't keep up with me. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what you want me to say to that, but I really credit personal development. I really credit the positive mental attitude and the practice of it. Jean, if for 40 years I had not been practicing all of that, then at that lowest point, I might not have had the wherewithal to just react that way. Like, I didn't think about it. I didn't, it just came out of my mouth. It was my natural reaction. And I'm so grateful for that because I think it changed everything.
I would think so. Yeah. And then in your recovery process, right, and your steps to getting better and getting outside, that's also, it changes because your expectations have to change, or there's some combination of expectation and reality. Yes, I expect to be able to do this, but honestly I can't. But you have to do the little things in order to do the bigger things.
Yes, it's a journey. It's a journey. And every person listening to this, every person is on a journey that looks different from everybody else's, right? We can have things in common. We can have, as women, lots of times we have pieces of our stories that we find that sound the same and all of that. But in the end, it's your journey, right? And you have to decide for what you want in that journey. I decided I wanted to get back to walking around my neighborhood, for instance, right? That was a big goal at one point. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, I live on a big hill, and my house, so the road is a big hill, and then the house is up another hill from the road. And at one point, I could walk down the hill to the road and across the road and back up to the house and be like, okie dokie. Like, that's where we're going today, And so it's a process, but you know what? That's just a complete analogy for the process of allowing our journey to unfold, right? And to not be attached to the how, but to allow it to unfold in a way that is natural and powerful and authentic to us on our journey, and not judge it and compare it. We compare ourselves so much. And, one of my favorites
created that too, right? That it's made that so much worse, is comparing to the perfect pictures and, the perfect everything on social media.
Yes. Somebody said to me today, what if you don't have a face for video? And I said, well, do you have a face for coffee shop conversations? Like, do you have a face for just talking to somebody one-on-one? Then you have a face for video, right? We all do. Mm-hmm. There is no, like, you don't have to look like a news anchor, right? Or whatever, right? That's just nothing against news anchors. I actually have a friend who's a really great one, but you don't have to be TV ready, right? To communicate with people authentically. And I do think there's this tendency among women to compare ourselves to the women that we see in the media. And it is worse because of our isolation. Because for a while, everybody we saw was inside a little rectangular box, right? So, yeah. I think we have to own who we are and be who we are and be happy to be who we are and grow together and celebrate each other endlessly. Just absolutely see the best in each other, remind each other of the best. Not question the times when we're not perfect at all. Just celebrate them. I have a favorite picture. It says, until further notice, celebrate everything. So yeah.
That's awesome. We have a little bit of an announcement.
Yes.
A little bit of a project that we're going to work on.
Yes.
So we're going to be incorporating some moments from you into our shows. Do you want to give a little bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. What I love about Discover Rising Tides and this whole idea of how the outside makes the inside better, I started talking about how I've been fascinated all my life with how we get better, right? Mm-hmm. And this is such a great platform for just thinking about what are the things that we as the women business owners that you interview, we as the women who are listening to this podcast, what are the ways that we get better? How are we going to think about, and what are things we can do, and just little nuggets, right? Mm-hmm. I love the idea that we have little nuggets that we can just think about, and I often have a focused thought for the day, right? So what can be a focused thought that you come away with from Discover Rising Tides that influences how you live out the rest of your week, right? Mm-hmm. So we're gonna reach for some of those nuggets. We're gonna reach for ways we get better together. We're gonna reach for thoughts that serve us, and I'm super excited to be able to be a part of bringing that. I'm
so grateful that you are so generous with your time and your thoughts, and it's a privilege to be able to add that to this platform.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to where it's going to take us all.
Me too.
So thank you. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for sliding into the home plate, and just as the music started to have this great conversation. We're going to put your contact information in the show notes. But where is the best place for people to buy your book, find you?
All of it is at INDIE salescoach.com.
Great.
There are links to all of it there. Really easy.
Lynn, thank you so much. It's been a privilege.
What a pleasure. Thank you.
I just